Recording in progress.
I always have to click off the thing that says got it. All right, hi. Monday Movie Club. We've been torturing each other's with movies we've selected to watch, but this week we voted to pick a movie that to commemorate D-Day, and we watched this week, well, some of us did, Saving Private Ryan. I'm Frank Gaffney. Here with me is 102-degree Amy Goldman. Joel Fenster. I don't see any Ryan things in the background there.
I got a bear. Is that close enough? Lions,
No.
tigers, bears? No.
No. Mark Wotzitz Gardner, who refused to put up a backdrop, so I had to do it. Annie King, back from her Star Wars immersive experience. And special guest Jeff Pliskin, who says this is one of his favorite movies.
And I just want to say, Frank, earn this.
Well, this is another genre of movie I'm not a fan of. War movies, don't care. But of course, Steven Spielberg, the master. It's compelling, poignant, and above all, a war movie that is honest and a beautiful tribute to the men who have served. Just, and if you haven't seen it, here's a little bit about the plot. When three of the Ryan brothers are killed in action, Tom Hanks and company are commissioned to find the final Ryan brother to send home to his grieving mother. And, there's that massive battle at the beginning and the end of the movie. And this 8-man detail, some of them don't make it, spoiler alert. So that makes it all the more heartbreaking. And I think we all agree that opening scene is brilliant, Spielberg, brilliant. And also, cinema history. This is probably one of the most beautifully filmed openings of a movie. I think I only have one really nit to pick. Maybe more than one, but first of all, of course the plot is contrived. There's as much as there was this actual Sullivan rule that I don't know why they would send this particular detail to go get him. And somehow Hanks and his little band of merry men are allowed to go roaming around Normandy when there's these huge battles going on around them. No, wait, we gotta go. We can't help. We gotta go get Private Ryan. So, but the one thing that bothered me was it's episodic, of course, in nature because they're just roaming around. But when they stormed the German bunker, it just seemed like such a contrivance because the entire scene is really just an excuse to have that whole dilemma with the German soldier in the next scene. So I don't understand why this lone German nest would be in the middle of nowhere, why Tom Hanks would want to go and charge it during the middle of the day when they're all just running out in the field. It just seemed like it was there for no apparent reason, and it's not camouflage, and I don't get it. It was like they were sitting there with a little sign that said, "We are here to create the moral dilemma that will be in the next scene." So, and kill off one of our beloved characters. So, and why couldn't he just report that they were there? There's a go, come bring forces and get them out. And I don't know that they would have even had a prison. What are they going to do with a prisoner? Were they going to take him along with them? So that whole thing just seemed contrived to me. And so they would have killed everybody before anybody even had a chance to surrender. And so every time I watch that scene, I just want to jump into the screen and take the gun, shoot the German, and just get on with the damn movie. That's what I say. But I truly do love this movie. I think it's a great movie. And and it's a great Spielberg movie. I think I would say definitely in the top 5 of his movies. But it's a nasty depiction of the cruelties of war, but it has humor. The death scenes are gut-wrenching, but you get that brotherly band of brothers kind of bonding, which is beautiful. And the cast, they're all great, really. And of course, the men of D-Day, this didn't just save Private Ryan, they saved all of us. Is that poignant?
It was good the way you lowered the volume of your voice there, Frank.
Yes, thank you. And of course, every time, even this time, every time Tom Hanks gets to that final speech, I start crying like I lost somebody in the war, because it's just so beautiful when it transitions, and the whole time. Well, can I spoil at this point? It's just so beautiful how it ends up. So for me, this is a definite must. It was my favorite film of 1998, yet incredibly, they lost the Oscar to Shakespeare in Love,
Oh,
which is number 406 on the Franken list. Saving Private Ryan is number 64. I'm just saying.
Well, when you had a lot of money to throw around, you could buy anything at that time. So,
You're talking about Harvey.
yeah.
All right, so Joel, you want to go next and talk about Mr. Spielberg's epic?
Sure. I don't know what I can add to that. I don't mind the contrivances and stuff because Spielberg has them in almost every movie at some point. He's a master at emotional manipulation.
I was going to say he's a master at contrivances.
No, they are there for manipulative purposes, and I don't mind them because he knows what he's doing with them. He's making movies to evoke specific reactions from his audience. He is one of a handful of people where I would say this is a Steven Spielberg film. And
Oh my gosh.
it deserves that label. There are people who, oh, this is a Michael Bay film. No, it's not. It's a piece of shit. This is, Spielberg.
But they never, but even though there are contrivances, they never feel heavy-handed.
Exactly. And for me, this is, for me, none of his movies are ever less than 3 stars. There's one exception to that, and it's not his fault. So we won't mention it until next week when I'm sure will come up in conversation. But
don't hold me in suspense, Joel. I won't be here next week.
We're talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark next week, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay. Got it.
Something to do with a skull made of crystal.
Crystal
perhaps?
Skull, yeah.
The non-existent 4th Indiana Jones film that we're finally getting next year. Anyway, I've seen this movie a number of times. It affects me pretty much the same way every time I see it. Seeing it in gearing up for this, it brought up a lot of, war is still with us in the 21st century, and it's as brutal and horrid as it ever was. And every war movie that's been made should be an anti-war movie. And this one, with that opening sequence, if that doesn't turn you off from the concept entirely, you have bigger issues that you need to be in therapy for.
Yeah, but I think, Joel, just to, not that I'm not negating that, but
yeah.
But then the rest of the movie really becomes the same kind of, we're in this for the greater good. We need to fight a war.
Yes,
so
there was a time where that was definitely the case. And there are times where that is unfortunately still the case, that we as a species don't know how to solve our problems without some crazy ass motherfucker dictator invading another country next to him for stupid ass reasons and killing civilians, soldiers, whatever, relentlessly.
Yeah, but my point being really that it just goes right back to that sense of we're doing this for the greater good.
Yes, but
even though it's brutal and horrible,
yeah,
it's necessary.
Then it was. Now I don't know that it's necessary. Defense is necessary, but anyway, that's my political rant for right now. Taking on a different political rant, the fact that Harvey Weinstein basically bought the Oscars that Shakespeare in Love won is appalling. This is second on my list of biggest Oscar things. Yes, it is.
Don't say it.
Yeah, oh, I'm going to say it. Spielberg at least won Best Director that year, which if he hadn't, this would have been a bigger upset than Scorsese losing to Kevin Costner for Goodfellas. As good as a film that Dances with Wolves is, it is not better than Goodfellas, and Kevin Costner hasn't directed his way out of a paper bag since then. So, but anyway, sore point.
But you digress.
Yeah, I digress. But the only other Oscar that I think it should have won over Shakespeare in Love is the best original screenplay. Robert Rodet's screenplay I think is very well written, based on the other things. Well, based on the other things that were nominated, let's just say that Shakespeare in Love was probably the least of those screenplays, and it shouldn't have won. But it's a 4-star movie for me, and that's really all I have to say. So.
Absolutely. Aim, do you agree?
Yeah, I remember loving it when I saw it, the one and only other time I saw it. But I still had such a clear memory of when Tom Hanks in the opening sequence had pulled the guy over when he was on the phone, pulled him again, and then I was like, his face is gonna disappear. Oh my God, that was so powerful. I mean, I didn't take any notes, unfortunately. I loved the movie. I thought it was a little long. The opening battle scene, I love. The one at the end, I was like, oh my God, let's move this on already. We get it. But I still loved it. 4 stars.
Annie, you agree?
It's so not in my wheelhouse. This genre is just.
I agree.
And I found it fascinating, and I guess I never really think about things like this, but just how.
Wait a minute, had you not seen it before?
Never seen it.
Oh,
Like I said, it's not my kind of thing. I've never seen any war movie really, like Platoon or anything like that. So
Mark, write all these down.
Oh, we have it already in email. Remember?
yeah. I mean, I've seen like kind of big blockbusters like Born on the 4th of July, or maybe Once in a Blue Moon, where it's really just more blockbuster than war. So it was an eye opener. I don't think I ever thought about how close they got, like to shooting people and stuff, and it just not something I think about, I guess. So it was impactful.
There was a lot of shooting of prisoners. A lot.
Yeah.
Pretty eye-opening for you, Ann.
Yeah. So I was, I thought it was very emotional. It was an eye opener, and I love Tom Hanks. But still, I never saw it. It just wasn't my kind of thing. So I liked it a lot. I don't know that I would go 4 because it's just not my thing. It's so 3.75 because it was really impactful and good, but I can't do 4 for a movie that I'm not really like enjoying and cheering for.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I think, excuse me. Were you crying at the end?
Yes, I just finished it actually like 5 minutes before I came on. So I had to do it in 2 parts. I watched 2 hours the other night, and then I had to finish it this morning because it was just too long.
Mark, do you think it's too long?
I would shave it down by a good 10-15 minutes. Yeah, I do. And that's
See,
why
that whole German scene, that's what I'm saying.
Well, but that's what I was going to say before. That German scene also, that's a foil to have Tom Hanks give his backstory too, that everyone was looking for.
Right.
It was
Right.
then done. And that's why I'll start with my stars. I'm giving it 3.75 as well. It was a little bit too long. This one is in my collection, but I haven't seen it in at least 10 years, if not 15.
I just watched it last year.
Oh, because you had to for the Franken list, yeah. Yeah, it had been a while for me, but and I will say that I liked it just a touch less than I remember liking it. So by no means that means it doesn't mean it's a bad movie at all.
Do you think
Just
the size of your screen made it played some part in that?
Hey. Size doesn't matter. Please, come on.
I know you keep saying that to Danielle, but
I do. I've been saying it for 20 years.
The problem is if you're watching it on your iPhone, you don't have an iPhone. If you're watching it on your Android,
Yeah.
size matters.
No, I've got a 40-inch screen. That's big enough.
I guess if you sit close enough to it.
What else? What was I going to say? It's like I said, it wasn't quite as good as I remember, but it was still a great movie. I did have a vivid memory of the sniper on sniper shot through the eyeball, and then that little girl slapping her dad during Vin Diesel's death scene. That whole scene, as soon as I walked into that, I was like, oh, this is the part. For whatever reason, I remember that part like more than anything else in the movie. Can't
Because
really
Vin
explain why.
Diesel's from the Bronx.
Yeah, and you know what? I was going to say this. Say what you want about Vin Diesel and his whole movie career. He was great in this. He was perfectly cast.
Yeah.
And Tom Sizemore too, but unfortunately his life went real downhill after this. What else? All the different captains. It was like a weird mashup of who's who. It's like Paul Giamatti, Ted Danson, and Dennis Farina. I mean, it was just a weird casting choice, but it was cool. It was like, and like you said, it was episodic. They like, let's go here now, and then we'll see this guy. Then we go here and we see this guy.
At the
What
time,
else?
though, they didn't necessarily say, let's do that, because nobody knew who a lot of those people were, really, right?
Ted Danson and Dennis Farina.
Yeah,
Were-
they were
okay.
definitely well known.
I'll give you
Paul
that, yeah.
Giamatti, I agree. Paul Giamatti is more now, I guess, looking back. You probably didn't know him in 1998. Yeah.
You left out the biggest surprise to me, because I didn't remember Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
That's the one. That is the one and only name I said. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know I forgot he was in this movie. So you're absolutely right.
Well, you
But he had,
probably
like,
didn't
3
know him at
seconds.
the time either. Exactly.
Just to interject something real quick, trivia wise, the scene, one of the scenes that Bryan Cranston in, there's another colonel, general, captain, I don't remember what it was. The actor playing him isn't by the name of Dale Dye. He's basically an army consultant for almost every war movie. He was involved in Platoon. He was involved in
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket. He's done almost everything. So
Is that the guy who reads the Lincoln letter or quotes the Lincoln?
no, I forget who that is. That's it's not him.
Was
Okay.
it the short guy?
Fresnel. Star
Arm
Trek.
Presnell.
Yeah,
Harvey Fresnell.
I don't know if it's the same guy, but in that same scene, I recognized the Dean from Revenge of the Nerds, the short guy.
that's not him either.
that guy from the Nerds wasn't
That guy, yeah, that
an actual army corporal or
He,
whatever.
he looks like somebody who had gone through basic training, right? 1,000 years. ago.
So for me, only 2 scenes in the whole movie really bothered me. One was Giovanni Ribisi's death. I know you said it was unneeded, but just him dying there, laying there was very real to me. And then Mellish's death at the end. It wasn't so much his death, but it was the whole fight scene leading up to it. It almost looked, it was unchoreographed, which was perfect choreography because it was just ugly and raw. It wasn't a good fight of him and the German soldier. And then seeing the knife slowly go in, you know it was going to happen. And when that part specifically always just gets me because you know that freaking what's his name is Upham is in the hallway not doing anything, and that really bothers me. And so that scene above all else in the movie, I was like, oh, here this comes as well. I knew that was coming.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. And I guess I'm very lucky that I've never had to experience a draft in my life. But I think even if I was drafted, I would never see battle because I really am so colorblind. Were the German soldiers wearing different colors? Because all I saw during the whole movie was just soldiers shooting soldiers, and I was thinking I'd be shooting at the wrong people. I couldn't.
The helmets are the giveaway. Their helmets were different.
Not for me. I would be killing everybody. I don't know.
Germans were dressed up in bright neon purple and orange.
That's it. All right.
Yes, I had
Yeah,
a,
you don't.
the leaves on the helmets was the only way I could tell. It was kind of.
Yeah, no, Mark, you would definitely be 4F.
I'd be up them basically. I'd be working on the maps in the back room or something like that.
As long as they weren't in color.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Pliskin, you want to join us because it's your favorite movie. Why?
Well, I first have to say that when I see Spielberg and Tom Hanks, in the credits, I will immediately just sort of be favorably predisposed to the film because I love Tom Hanks and I would
You're
put
not gonna
this-
love him in his next movie. I've been reading stuff.
the Pinocchio
God.
thing. Or?
Pinocchio.
No,
Elvis.
he plays Colonel Parker in the Elvis movie.
Oh yeah, I wasn't pleased to see the trailer for that. Whatever. That Spielberg has nothing to do with that, does he?
No,
Okay.
Baz
But yeah,
Luhrmann.
I would put this amongst my top 3 Spielberg films. And
What are the other two?
Schindler and
uh,
E.T.
no, I would say Close Encounters and a Schindler's List. Unfortunately, then it's unfortunate that 2 out of those 3 are as great as they are because of just the horrors that people do, that humanity does to itself. But I'd seen it a couple of times before. I mean, I was tearing up from the very opening scene in the cemetery with with Ryan as the older version. And then I do remember, and it's still the case that, you know, I've never had anything to do with the military, but that the terror that I would, you put yourself right on that ship pulling up to the shoreline, and that's everything. That's every worst nightmare I would have about and then not only my own personal feelings, but just that there were young guys who signed up because they wanted to go and do this, and
Babies,
just the what's that?
babies, really.
Yeah, and just I don't know whether they were just, either blinded by patriotism or didn't know how bad it was going to be, but just the appreciation of how blindly courageous and patriotic that was for them to do. And, I don't know how I would have reacted had I been, drafted and put into a situation like that, or if I were alive during World War II. But
You weren't?
what's that?
You weren't?
I was the last year in which they drew lottery numbers, but no one from my year was drafted. And I fortunately had a high number anyway. So I was never really super close to it. And I didn't really know people who got drafted. But this was a different kind of war, because Vietnam, people had very strong feelings about whether it was even necessary. World War II was a whole different sentiment. But the scene that Mark referenced before with, I forget the guy's name, who was carrying all the munitions and knew that the guy was getting stabbed up in the tower there. To me, yeah, the scene where the knife gets plunged into his chest was terrifying. But to me, the most impactful moment of that was the German who just walked by the guy after he killed him. He just walked by him, and it was just basically, you are nothing. You're a coward. You're no threat to me at all. And he just, walks by. He could have killed the guy. The German could have killed the guy. And he didn't even think it was worth wasting a bullet on the guy, because he considered that the guy was going to be no threat to him at all. That moment was very powerful for me as well. Anyway, I would say hard to say enjoyed, but I was more affected by the film watching it this time. And maybe it's age. Maybe I was thinking about just how pointless and what a waste war is. But it just, I guess, in the hindsight of having seen so many wars fought in your lifetime, the longer you live and you see that it hasn't really changed, I think it makes it that much more impactful. And the final scene in the cemetery, I just lost it. It was in the hindsight of everything that you've just seen, and really just relating to how that guy must have been feeling, just having to be reassured that his life had some meaning to it, that he was a good person. I give it 4 stars.
That he was worthy.
Yes.
Being saved.
Yeah. That was what the whole context was there. So I give 4 stars out of 4.
Absolutely. It really is such a moving movie. And obviously, Spielberg is of the generation too that, those war movies were for him were a big influence on his life. So as a tribute to the soldiers of World War II, it's a pretty amazing movie. All right, well, that was fun. Anybody have any final comments on this one?
The only thing I was going to say is that if you compare this to Schindler's List, as much as I talk about or joke about never wanted to see it again, and I've seen it twice, I would actually say Schindler's List is slightly better as a movie than this one for me. I just never want to see it again. But to me, the ending of Schindler's List, when you have the walk of all the real survivors, that's where I lose it. I did not lose it at all in this movie at any scene, to be honest. But watching Schindler's List, I can't watch it without crying at least like 3 times.
Maybe it's maybe
All-time favorite movies.
Or
But I've
adding
seen it
that
like
in
10
next year.
times.
could that be because Schindler's List is really made about a real person?
Knowing that it was most of it was absolutely true, and then the ending having the real survivors do that walk, it absolutely tear break.
Yeah. But for me, definitely too, the Schindler's List is it's so tough to watch. It really is. And I think Jeff, you're right. I think it's because you see those real people at the end. All right. Again.
You're
if
for
you're
Clem,
still-
Frank. You're for
If you're
Clem.
still watching, yes, if you're still watching. Next week we will be celebrating 41 years of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It opened 41 years ago next week. I remember going to see it in the first run of the movie. I can't wait to talk about it.
I
I
feel
have a
very
great story
old
for
now.
next week.
What? Where?
I said I have a great story for next week about how I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh, look, we're having a little teaser.
Yeah.
I know that story.
A spoiler. Teaser for a spoiler.
All right, great. I'm Frank Gaffney. Go watch a movie.
And also with you.